I hope you guys are doing well. We're going to discuss the 10 words that are very important for CELPIP writing and speaking. These are important because they give you marks, so I'll explain to you why they give you marks. I'll explain this because you can also use similar words very close to that, and I'll explain you how you can get those marks. I'm also focusing on these words because they are going to give you a range. It's not just one word and 10 variations of that. It's different words for different purposes, and this will help you understand how you're supposed to get that mark on vocabulary and impress the examiner. So let's get into it. The first word is surprisingly. If you have been a follower of this channel, you would know that we love Lees, and that's not me loving Lees, it's the examiner. Why do we love Lees? By Lees, I mean surprisingly, accordingly, greatly, slowly, quickly. These things are adverbs. People don't use them. This is the most scarce thing that we see on the tests. Students just use nouns, verbs, and adjectives mainly, sometimes not even adjectives. So by using more adverbs, you can give yourself a bigger range. Now this means you can use any type of adverbs. I like surprisingly because you can put it anywhere. You can put it at the start of the sentence, middle, and even at the end in some cases. It adds a li, which is a range of vocabulary. It also adds a layer of emphasis. So whatever you're trying to explain, I'm sure there's something surprising. Something is surprising in any case. For example, it is minus 15 today. It is surprising. It could be minus 30 tomorrow. That is also surprising. So literally anything that is spoken as a matter of fact could be surprising. So when you're starting a new point, you can say, surprisingly, this is what happened. Or in the middle of a sentence, you can say, Sarah wanted to surprisingly go and do this. All right. And you can also say it at the end. Sarah wanted to do this for the first time in her life, comma, surprisingly. It will add a mark every time you use it. Word number 2 is conspicuously. Conspicuously means obviously. Again, it's silly, so I like it. It is also a great connector. It could be used in between sentences and phrases, but it is not obviously, it is conspicuously. It is a more fancy definition or a variation of the word obviously. Examiners want you to use low frequency words that are unique. Use conspicuously instead of obviously. You can also use apparently, but I think conspicuously just stands out. It's something that people rarely use. Word number 3 is given that. We have talked on this channel about complex sentences. Whether you're doing IELTS or CELPIP, complex sentences are important. If you haven't seen our lesson on complex sentences, go here, type HZad Education complex sentences. You will see that these sentences are the ones that have 2 points in them. So it would be something like, given that today I am feeling a little bloated, comma, next point, I'm gonna start working out from tomorrow. So that's the second part of my sentence. So given that is the first part, comma, something else. If you're writing, if you're speaking, you just pause instead of saying comma literally. But what given that does is it makes the sentence complex because it breaks it down into 2 parts. There's lots of other things you can use while, whereas, although at the start of sentences, due to. In fact, we'll get to some of those later. But given that is a great complex sentence to make or start with because this is rare. Okay, a lot of people do say because or since when they start their sentences, but given that is rare. It is also something that can set up your explanation really well because it's like, given that this is the situation, and then explain it more. So it elaborates whatever you're trying to say beautifully. The fourth word is since. I just said since is common, but it can be used in a lot of places where explanation is needed and you're giving a reason behind something. So since something something, comma something something else, as you can see, this is also broken into 2 parts. This also makes your sentence complex. So it can be very handy in places where you are giving a reason behind something. Of course, you know how to use since, right? Since I am sick, comma, I'll go to the doctor tomorrow. So it's handy to use it and it gives a good flow. It makes you sound fluent if you use it in speaking. Word number 5 is senseless. Now, why is it important? Is because there are a lot of places in the speaking and in writing where you have to give opinions or debate or argue. You do it in task 2, writing, and you can even do it in task 1 depending on the scenario. You definitely do it in the debate question speaking part 7 in CELPIP and could be used in many places. Words like senseless are extreme words. It's not aggressive in a sense that it is slang. You're not cursing at anyone, but you are saying that, hey, this side of the opinion is senseless. Examiners like those extreme words as long as they don't get into the territory of being slang. So words like aggressive or senseless, or you could say something like this is despicable, for example, detrimental. Extreme words that just exaggerate the meaning or the feeling behind a story will help you. So use complex words like that. I really like senseless because it fits beautifully in places, especially when you're doing debates or disagreeing with something. Word number 6 is extremely. Once again, it's one of those things where you can add something extreme. Now, you would use extremely before adjectives, right? So I want to give this to you because a lot of people miss adjectives too. That is something that is missing as well. So it is a way for you to kind of force yourself to say an adjective. You would use it in a way where you say extremely good, extremely bad, extremely terrible, and so on, right? So after extremely, you follow it up with an adjective. So that's one benefit of that. And then extremely itself it has a ly, which is good. It's not an adverb, but it does have a ly, which makes the sound vary. It also is something that brings up that exaggeration, that emphasis again. I just gave feedback to someone today on speaking, and I said, you're very good, but you're monotone. And that's because your volume is not fluctuating. By using extreme words like extremely, greatly, terrible, wonderful, you will force yourself to emphasize and not be monotone. And in writing, you're not gonna use the tone, but it sounds like the exaggeration or emphasis that you want to give, which gives you the range of vocabulary. Next is also. Now, also is by no means a fancy word. It is very basic. However, it can help you easily when you're speaking. So between points, you don't want to say and, you don't want to say You can use also. You don't want to think sometimes of complex words. Like you cannot say accordingly, moreover every time, and you don't want to say and too many times. So use also to your advantage. It's a very simple word. You can plug and play this in a lot of places in speaking and even in writing, and use it to make a good flow. Word number 8 it's a phrase actually, needless to say. We have discussed a lot of connectors. If you haven't seen that, go out here on our YouTube channel, type HZad Education connectors lesson. You'll see the complete description. However, among all the connectors we have, moreover, likewise, right? Needless to say is a very unique connector. It is not just one connector, but it's 3 words combined. Needless to say. This can be used just about anything. It's not like you are stopping from saying anything. It's not a literal meaning. It just means the same thing, like plus, also, furthermore, same thing. Okay? So next time you want to use something basic, like a basic connector, use needless to say instead because it's more fancy. Word number 9 is due to. Due to and because are the same things. Since is the same thing too. In this list, we have since. So a guideline for you is if you use since, don't use due to. If you use due to, don't use since. This is for writing because you can kind of control it. In speaking, you won't be able to think so much because you're speaking on spot, so you can use both. That's fine. I wanted to give you due to because due to can also help explain a lot of things, especially when you're blaming something. For example, due to the car breakdown, I couldn't come to work today. So it's very good to put the blame on something. It's also better than saying because. All right, so the next time you want to say because, replace it with due to because it is more fancy, it's less commonly used. It is also a complex sentence. So due to something something, comma something something else. So this word has multiple benefits, and you can use it again to have a good flow and get advantages from all these different angles. Last word is 2 things I'm going to mention. The first is although. Okay, so although is better to use instead of however. If I'm saying a sentence, which is, I need to work out tomorrow, however, I have no time. Instead of this, I can say, although I need to work out tomorrow, I have no time. So you use the same sentence, but you put although at the start and remove the however. What this does is, again, it makes it complex because although something something, and then something something else. So 2 parts of the sentence, it becomes a complex sentence, although it's also very infrequently used. So we don't see these big words, although, needless to say, conspicuously, these lengthy words we don't say. We don't see. We do see but, we see but all the time, all right? So we know what our eyes capture when we are reading the writing and when we listen. When the examiner sees although, it stands out, all right? And then it has those other benefits I just stated. But in case you still want to use however, or let's say you have used although once, you want to use something else, The next thing that I'm going to mention within this point is actually point number 11, but let's just say it's 10, is use nevertheless. Nevertheless instead of however. It's the same meaning. It just stands out. Nevertheless is less commonly used. It's more fancy. So use that instead. So although and nevertheless can both replace the word but, although at the start of sentences, nevertheless in the middle of sentences, and make sure to use these 10 words to your advantage to gain more marks because they hit multiple angles, range of vocab, complex sentence, variety, and keeps the examiner happy, and that's what we want in CELPIP. All right, if you liked this video, please like, share, and subscribe. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.